I have been drawing Usagi for 35 years, and I love what I do. I love the craft of creating comics, so I love the feel of the paper, the pencil on the paper. I'm Stan Sakai, and I'm a cartoonist. I write, I draw, and I make comics for a living. Here's my parents. Just about the time they got married, they went to Miyajima, which is a sacred island. It's one of the three most beautiful places in Japan. Well, my father was from a peasant class. He's from a family of fishermen. My mother was from aristocracy. She was from the samurai class, the upper class. She was actually in Nagasaki when the atomic bomb fell, but she was just on the other side of the mountain, so that protected her. My mother was a Japanese citizen, so she grew up in Japan. She knew the customs and the traditions of Japan, and that was passed on to us. I went to grade school at Luna Little Elementary. My older brother Ed is 4 years older than I am. My brother and I were also part of the Little League, the Pocky Park Tigers, and it was the local baseball team. I was a bat boy, my brother was a pitcher. When I was in high school, that's when I took my first real art class. I've always enjoyed drawing, so that's something I really wanted to do, even though, making a living as an artist is very difficult. And even my parents, they're Japanese, so, you can't go into the arts. It's very questionable as far as making a living. And my dad, since he was the, head cashier at Sheraton, says, I can get you a job. But of course, I just loved drawing and painting, and so I stuck with that. And when he saw that I was determined to go into the arts, he backed me completely. He says, it's your life. If you have to do this, it's fine. However, there's always a little backdoor. If you find you can't make it as an artist, you can study accounting, or there's this new thing coming up, computers. And but I stuck with the artwork, and I'm glad I did. As a kid, in Hawaii, it was great. We holo-holoed or, walked around all over the place. And we went to movies. At that time, we lived at the base of Diamond Head in an area called Kapuhulu, just off of Waikiki Beach. It was a fun place. We always walked around bare feet, or at most, we'd wear slippers. I never owned shoes until intermediate or junior high. And that was because it was mandatory that all students had to wear shoes, and that was my first pair of shoes. I've always loved movies, and not just watching movies, but studying them. Just down the street from where I lived was the old Kapulu Theater, and every weekend they would show samurai movies, chambara movies. And so when I wanted to do a comic book series, the first thing I thought of was, maybe a life story inspired by the life of one of my favorite characters, Miyamoto Musashi. However, when I drew a rabbit in my sketchbook with his ears tied up into a chonmage, that I loved the design. And so instead of Miyamoto Musashi, my character Miyamoto Usagi was born, and that's I've been spending the last 3.5 decades working with him. Back when I first started out freelancing, I did anything. I would take t-shirt designs, book illustrations, and one of the things I did was craft fairs. I did quick drawings for if you wanted a birthday card. You tell me, my brother likes elephants. Okay, I'd do a little gag about an elephant for a birthday card. Or I'd make puzzles. I'd handcraft it. Everything was, I would do it myself, even the painting and everything. I did a line of cards for pets called the Literary Pet. And these were to be sold in pet stores. And they were even featured on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. However, Johnny redid the gag that was in the card, so it was a bit risque. And so the company got all these complaints. So, is that the kind of cards that you're selling us? No. You know, I took a calligraphy class at Pasadena City College, and I thought, oh, this is fun. And someone at my church asked, oh, do you want to teach calligraphy to us? And I thought, oh, I just took a couple of classes, but yeah, I could just teach what I learned the week before. And so I started doing that. And I think it was at the CAPS meeting. I was just telling someone, oh yeah, I've been teaching calligraphy. And Sergio heard that and says, you know, I need a letterer. Can you, do you letter comic books? And I said, yeah, I can letter comic books. And, and I did. And I've been with Sergio Lettering Group for 35 years now. Well, working with Sergio Aragonés, it's an amazing experience because he's been in the industry so long. And a lot of his work ethics and work style has rubbed off on me. However, in the case of lettering, he was recommending me to other people even before I started lettering for him. He said, oh yeah, Stan Sakai, you need a letterer? Stan Sakai, oh, he's terrific. I'm using him. But he didn't say I'm going to use him, but yeah, I'm using him. Another friend of ours, Scott Shaw, recommended me to Stan Lee because Stan was looking for a letterer for the Spider-Man Sunday newspaper strips. And it was funny. He just called me out of the blue for me and says, hi, this is Stan Lee. I'm looking for Stan Sakai. And I thought, wow, he really sounds like Stan Lee. For me, lettering was always the side business, like secondary to my comic book work. I love writing, I love drawing, and I thought that's where my passion is. In 1984, I came up with a first Usagi story. Now, at this time, Usagi was still going to be a secondary character in the Nielsen Ground Thumper storyline. But I came up with this 8-page story, and I wanted it to be published somewhere, and I couldn't find a publisher. However, through friends at CAPS, the Comic Arts Professional Society in Los Angeles, I heard of a guy in Seattle, Steve Galacci, who wanted to publish a comic book but did not have enough material. So I sent, in the first issue, I sent a Nielsen Ground Thumper story. And after that, he said, I'm coming up with a second issue. What else do you have? And I sent him my very first Usagi story. He even gave me the cover. And so Usagi was first published in Albedo #2, and this is back in 1984. And he's been published pretty much continuously since then. I chose black and white because it was cheaper. Basically, I mean, Steve didn't have money for a full color book, and so he was going to publish a black and white book. So I did mine in black and white. And actually, I like the idea of a black and white book because that looks more like my original artwork than a color book. I remember when I went back to Hawaii for my first signing, and my dad was really, you can't make a living as a comic book artist. My dad figured he'll go to the book signing as a show of support to me, and he could not get into the comic book shop because it was so crowded. And then he thought, well, I guess maybe Stan can make a living at this. So for me, that was a big turning point. I've been very fortunate. I've received 5 Eisner Awards, and the Eisners are considered the Academy Awards of comic books. And the first time I won awards, I think I got 2 awards that year. And it was just amazing. And I've been a fan of Will Eisner's for such a long time, and to actually receive the award named after him and receive it from him, that was really neat. I think my 3rd award that I got, that was for the best serialized story. I actually had him sign it for me, so that was kind of neat. Sharon and I met in high school, And we were together all the time. We got married, and in 2004, they discovered a brain tumor. She had radiation, and it seemed to be going to remission. However, 7 years later, it came back, and it came back with a vengeance. And soon she was completely bedridden, and we took care of her at home, made her as comfortable as we could. Well, towards the end of Sharon's life, I reached out to Julie because Sharon and I had known Julie and Glenn years and years before, about 15 years prior, and I knew that Glenn had passed away. So when Sharon got to be really bad, I just reached out to her, for counseling, just for help. And we had not met really until after Sharon passed away. And a while back, I said, I'd like to at least meet just to thank you for everything you've done for me. And so we did, and we hit it off, and we got married. I've also been collaborating with Julie because she's an artist in her own right. And we've been doing chibi versions of Usagi, and those are just pure fun. Julie's such a talented cartoonist. And so we've been collaborating on these chibi stories, and they've been fun to do. I enjoy my collaborations with her. When I retire, will Usagi retire with me? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know what the ultimate future of Usagi would be, but I plan on doing Usagi for a long time. It seems like every story I do leads to a springboard for 2 more, so I've got a lot of Usagi stories to tell yet.